first, what we're gonna do is keep that leg off to the side, but pull the right leg kind of behind you, or just down off to the side. You might have to like find like a sweet spot that works for your Goldilocks position. But basically by keeping that leg out to the side, you'll have like that one cheek, your left cheek on the chair there. And then it's not about like how long you can get the leg, because see how I'm like dumping into my back here, but more a matter of like how low can you get that knee to drop. Okay, so the toes are tucked underneath, and you're gonna feel that like maybe right now the hip is kind of jacked up in towards the ribs, but you can think about dropping and keeping that knee nice and heavy. And this might actually be better if you have a back of the chair or a wall nearby, or something that you can hold on to. But feeling that like drop of the knee is gonna feel like a nice opening through the front of the hip. Now I wanted to do it on this side first so you kind of know what to feel for or what to look for. And then you're gonna reach that same arm, so right arm up overhead, and then side bend towards the left. So if you weren't feeling it before, then now you probably are, as well as a nice little side body stretch to lengthen out. And then you'll lift back up. Turn yourself towards center, we'll call this center, so towards the front. And bring you both legs kind of out in front of you, keeping them about the same kind of length here as well. Sitting up nice and tall, and as you exhale, tuck the chin towards the chest, let it nod down slowly, so now you feel like a stretch through the back of the neck. And as you continue to roll down, that stretch goes down the spine. And as you continue to roll down, feel like, again, that pelvic floor is pulling up, belly button is pulling in, and you've got like imaginary beach ball over or under you, and you're trying to roll over it. Until finally, if you can get to the ground, or even if you can't, maybe bring your yoga block and let that be the ground that you bring up to you. Bring the ground up to you. And just kind of sink down into that stretch. Each time you inhale, the spine will lengthen. Each time you exhale, pull the belly button in and up towards the spine a little more. Dive your head down towards the ground a little more. Maybe even into the elbows. And then take one more cleansing breath in. Maybe even lift yourself up so that you can at least find some space in the spine. And then as you exhale, sink yourself down. Pull the belly button up, almost like you're arching into the low back. Push into that stretch. And then slowly, 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 you're gonna bring the yoga block with you if it was under you, or grab for it. And then sit yourself up nice and tall. Okay, so now that yoga block, you're gonna turn yourself towards the right. So now the left leg is going down behind you. The yoga block, you can use it as a little bit of a prop, or even if you have two, maybe you'll need that. But these are there for kind of just like a safety measure, okay? So you'll stack them up, and then your right cheek comes down onto your chair, okay? And then the yoga block is gonna be there, if you feel comfortable with it, to kind of let the knee or the thigh rest on. See, that's not even resting. Actually, I need a lower yoga block. Okay, so this is again what we talked about last time. Like, we gotta MacGyver our props and like learn to work with what we got. But as that leg rests down, there we go. I'm gonna rest my shin on top of that, surface. The shin on top of the yoga block. So now it's not so much of like holding myself up, but notice how my knee is softened into a closer angle to itself. But I'm able to relax down and keep the spine tall and still feel maybe a slight little tug or stretch in the front of the hip. Now lift the left arm up, and then exhale, side bend over. And as you're side bending, try to push down into the knee, not into the knee, but into the shin, to make that contact with your yoga blocks a little bit more firmer, just so that your leg isn't like lifting up off away. So by pushing down, by reaching up, you're creating that oppositional energy to open up that lateral line of the body. Lift back up, turn yourself back towards center, open the legs out again, a little wider than your chair, than your surface, and then make sure they're the same length. Then from there, arms open out to the side, and as you exhale, yin-yang the arms, meaning one goes under, one goes over. And if you can, grab onto your hip and reach past the leg. Lifting back up, yin-yang the arms on the other side. Reaching under as well as over. And putting a little bit of downward pressure into the bottom arm as you reach away with your top arm. Lifting back up, we're gonna do that one more time. So make sure like the spine is lifting on your inhale. It's like you got a pokey fence right at the sides of your waist here. So I'm lifting up, and I'm not just collapsing down into my side bend. I'm holding my lift as I side bend. Then coming up to the other side, lift up a little taller, side bend as you reach the arms past each other. Lift back up. All right, and now bringing the legs together with the yoga block out in front of you. So I don't know if you can see that, but that's in the camera angle. All right, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like actually from this side. Oh my goodness, all over the place. This is why my chair doesn't have a back, because I'm just, all over the place. All right, so your leg is going to lift up if that feels okay. If it feels okay to rest the heel on it, to kind of allow the knee to sink down, then do that. Otherwise, I want you to bring it towards like the bottom of your calf so that your foot can rest as well. So you have like 2 points of contact with that leg. And then the right leg rests onto the ground. So feel like the sits bones, those bonial ischial tuberosities that are on the chair there, helping to root down as you sit up nice and tall. Maybe that support. There we go. All right, so you're sitting up nice and tall, reach the arms forward, your right foot roots down heavily into the mat, and then hinging back so your spine stays in a nice straight line position, and then exhaling forward. So hips, heart, and head lean back together. Obviously the hips don't move, but your angle of the body changes, but you stay in line with the hips. Okay, so the further you can go back, that means that you're not dumping into the low back, but you're actually letting the front of the body engage here. So as you're leaning back, maybe try to reach the right leg out next to the left. And just notice how that changed things up a little bit. Now that both of the legs are straight, hopefully you feel, again, another chance for us to lengthen out through the hip flexors. No grip. The next time that you roll back or hinge back, hold it there and then start to open one arm. Watch where it goes. As far back as you can behind you, and then close it back up. Exhale. Inhale, you're holding your hinge position as you rotate. And then exhale, close back up again. So let it be like ballerina grace. You open, and then the music changes, you exhale, close it back up again. So you're finding the power of your core. Power meaning strength over time. Okay, so how strong can you be in a short amount of time? And as you inhale, you open, you're reaching, you're lengthening the tissue, and then you find that length and then strengthen into it. Pull back center. Now, if this starts to feel a little achy in the back, you come back up to sit a little taller. It doesn't have to come all the way back up, but just change the angle to not loosen, but to lighten the angle. We got 2 more on each side. Inhale to open, exhale to close, inhale to reach, exhale to close, and one more time. Okay, so come back up, hands onto the lap, cat and cow through the spine a couple times. Now we're gonna come back to that same movement, but I want you to be aware of what the legs are doing here. So a lot of the time people will turn from their hips, and what that looks like, watch what my legs are doing here, those legs are swaying from side to side as well. But watch what my legs do as I turn from the obliques, where we should be rotating from. They're quiet. Nothing happens. Okay? So that's the same kind of position I want you to have, or the same kind of like awareness of your body that I want you to have as we're coming now into our C curve. Okay, so you can start with the right foot planted, just to feel like you have a stronger connection to the ground, or you can start with that right leg long. Arms reach forward. C curve is where the belly button pulls in towards the spine. You're creating the letter C through the low back by engaging the core to get there, not because you're dumping down into it. So keep the rest of the spine tall. Pull the belly button back by engaging the core. still reaching forward, and then start to hinge back a little more. Okay, so now the space between the ribs and the hips doesn't change. You've shortened it, but now it doesn't change. From there, open out to one side, and then exhale, close. Look at the legs as you're closing the arms. So if you are moving the legs, they'll close back again with your arms. If you're not moving the legs, they're not going to move. As you're holding that C-curve position and the waist or the hips from moving, you're going to feel that really, really strong inner oblique connection. So it almost feels like you're ripping the ribs, opposite ribs, away from the opposite hip. And one more each side, reaching, pulling, last one, pulling. Actually, this is my last one. Gonna even myself out. Come back up, sit up nice and tall, hands onto the lap, cat and cow, a couple times. All right, you can turn yourself, or you can stay right where you are, but I'm gonna turn myself towards the camera because that right leg is going to come out at like an angle. So it's almost like you're coming into, or would come into, like a warrior two position. So that left leg is as far out as it feels comfortable with you, with a slight pressure into the ground. And the right foot, turn the toes out at a 90-degree angle. So you want like heel to heel connection. Okay, and then from there, toes are pointed 90 degrees away from my left leg. And it's almost like if I could stand up and then bend into that knee, I would be in that warrior two position. Okay, we're not gonna get there, obviously. We're gonna stay seated. So with both of those sits bones down into the ground, I want you to rotate the right knee in and turn the left heel, or the left heel. Turn the knee down, lift the heel up, just same leg, right leg. As you're rotating, you're pivoting on the ball of the foot. And now we're coming back to that drive down of the knee. You're trying to push that knee down into the earth to help open up that stretch in the front of the leg. Open back out again, plant the foot down. Rotate as you lift the heel up, drop the knee down. Now, if this doesn't feel good for the knee, what we can do is instead of this pivot or this roll, you can have that leg again supported by the yoga blocks, lifting it up, but that is going to create a little bit of instability. I just want you to feel like comfortable moving around the hip joints itself, because we have to make sure we're opening up the joint space above and below that knee. Turning yourself now to the other side. So the way this is going to work is just a slight pivot of that left leg. So your right foot doesn't have to go out as far. So you might even just come back to that wide-legged stance position and starting to roll the knee in. Hold on, that's probably a little too far bent for you. So left leg will start out further away. And then from there, you're rolling your body to the side, lifting the heel up as the knee gets a little heavier, driving down. Now, if this doesn't feel good, that twisting motion through the knee, then I want you to come back into that stretch position where the knee is driving down. Maybe the blocks are under the shin. And you're just feeling that nice support, that nice stretch. Reaching the arm up. Awesome. And then coming back in again. Just kind of let the leg drop down into your yoga blocks. And for me right now, this actually feels like I could release or let go of one of the yoga blocks and drop down a little further towards the ground. Now that's not like a goal or anything, like, oh, I gotta get rid of my yoga blocks. But it is like something that's happening to the connective tissue in a natural kind of way, where the body feels more comfortable and relaxed to let go of any tension that it is holding on to. All right, good. Okay, so hopefully hips are feeling a little looser now. Let's get into our foam roller work. So make sure that's nearby. I'm gonna turn myself to the side, okay? And from here, the right foot is gonna be planted onto the foam roller. So just have it next to the camera there so you can see. Okay, so that right foot is on the foam roller. Remember, your left leg can be supported by those yoga blocks if you need it to. Otherwise, just have it resting down into the ground. Start with the right foot on top of the foam roller, sitting up nice and tall. And as you inhale, reach the leg long, slide it on the back of the foot, and then exhale to pull back in. Now, arms can either be genie arms, oops, genie arms, prayer hands, maybe reaching up overhead or out in front. So those are all options that you can do. If your foam roller is kind of like sliding, you might have to start like on the balls of the foot instead of the arch of the foot, balls of the foot, so you don't roll as far away. But as this is rolling, think about each exhale, that knee is pulling in and the belly button is pulling away from that knee. Inhale, try not to disengage everything, but soften it to where you can feel like that stronger contraction each exhale. So meaning you're not like bracing or anything as you're inhaling, exhaling, but you're getting a softness and then a firmness. Inhale, exhale. Now we layer on, bring the arms to the party. So depending on which position you've chosen, these are genie arms, one arm resting on top of the other. Next time that right leg pulls in, twist towards the right. Inhale to reach that leg long. Exhale, turn and twist to the right. And continue moving that foam roller back and forth, but now connecting into those outer obliques. Check in with the left leg, make sure that the hip isn't gripping. If it is, try to bring your awareness back to those right side obliques. Soften the shoulders down away from the ears. 3 more times. Last 2. And the last one. Okay, so we got some more blood flowing into that right side. Your left leg is not going to be rolling the foam roller away, so just put it off to the side. But try to bring the right foot at the same place on the other side of the leg, of the mat. But as you inhale nice and tall, you stay tall, and exhale to start to twist and lengthen, or straighten. Twist and straighten. Now, if you can bring your awareness to those left side obliques, hopefully you're feeling that, even if we're not moving that foam roller of the leg. But connect deeper into that core musculature, belly button pulling in, ribs wrapping around, obliques pulling towards each other. And then if it feels good for you, maybe you hinge back just so that that leg feels a little lighter. Push the right foot down into the mat, and then lift the leg up as you twist. Okay, so now it's a leg lift instead of a leg roll. Final 4. Now if you are feeling grippy in the hip and it's just feeling hip rather than core strength, then keep the leg down and continue with that rotation. Otherwise, you continue with that lift and lower, that twist and turn. One more time. And then place that foot down, lengthen the spine, cat and cow. Okay? And now the foam roller is going to go between the legs, right between the thighs. Give it a nice little squeeze so it doesn't drop out of place. And with the feet right next to each other, lean back into your chair, whether you have a back or not. So if you do have a back in the chair, have it off to the side or kind of out of the way so that you can lean back as far as feels comfortable. So again, help to open up through the front of the body. So if your hands are pressing into the chair, you're able to open up the chest a little bit more. Exhale, tuck the chin down to the chest. And roll the shoulders forward. One more time. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Good. Now hold yourself back, hands down underneath of you. Give that foam roller a good squeeze. And with that hinge back position, then hold one arm and maybe the other out in front of you. So now we're lower in the hinge back than we have been before, hopefully. So as you lean back, or maybe if you're not, let's find a lower position. Maybe bend into the elbows. Keep the core, belly button pulled down as you reach one arm and then the other forward. Now from there, clasp the hands, Charlie's Angels point, the fingertips, and then as you inhale, twist off to the right. Exhale, center. Ooh, I just got a little adjustment in my back there. Whew. Inhale to twist and exhale to turn. So now this is familiar. We've got something between our legs to keep our legs from moving. We got something that our hands are holding on to keep ourselves from collapsing down into those twists. So with those hands pointing forward, reaching forward, shoulders out away from the ears. We've got 2 more on each side. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Point towards what it is that you want. One more time. And come back up nice and tall. Now that foam roller is going to go down. Let's do the left knee first. Left thigh and then right hand. From there, put a little bit of downward pressure into the hand and just make sure that that pressure feels okay on the thigh. So make sure, again, you're not like pushing into it with your body. The arm stays long, and you might have to like kind of find a position, even if it's with the wrist. The downward pressure is just to create a line of tension in that core space. So you're turning yourself off to the left, your arm is long on top of that foam roller, and you're putting that downward pressure into it and relaxing up off of it. Exhaling to push into it, inhaling to lift off of it. So this is what it looks like from the front. I've twisted myself and I'm pressing down. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And I'm holding this rotation, feeling that opposite rib pulling towards the opposite hip. And now each time I press down, it should feel like that line of tension is opening, not opening, lighting up. You might also feel the outer left side obliques as well. Oh no, now I've got the hiccups. One more final time. And then lift back up, switch over to the other side. Left hand on top of the foam roller, on top of the right foot. Turning yourself off to the right, so holding that rotation, keeping the spine tall. Exhaling to push down, inhaling to lift up. So when I say line of tension, we're here for like 10, 15 more seconds. When I say line of tension, imagine that if you feel, obviously, the tricep, maybe a little bit of the lat pushing down, can you lengthen that line of engagement and maybe engage through the forearm, maybe engage through the obliques, inner and outer obliques. 5 more seconds. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, and lift back up, place that foam roller back onto the inside of your thighs. Turn back to the side there. There we go, so you can see. Okay, and now squeezing into that foam roller, I want you to start to lift and lower the heels off the ground. Sit up nice and tall, stack it, looking forward. With your hands hanging under your chair, it's almost like you're trying to pull yourself up off of the chair. Spine just got a little taller. Core is able to now engage and wrap around it a little tighter. 4 more times. 3, hold the heels lifted in 2, and 1. Are you still squeezing on that foam roller? Now with the hands onto the front of your chair. So like pushing onto the front. Mine's too narrow. So it looks like I'm pushing on the back of my chair, but it's just so that I can like get a good but not narrow grip. So pushing on the front of the chair and leaning back into it. So the more you're pushing, the more engagement you're going to get through the front of the body to lean into it. Reach one arm forward, push back down. Reach the other arm forward, push back down. Keeping that straight line from hips to head to heart. Maybe you got to lean your head back a little more to connect the dots here. Each time that arm pushes forward, push back with the other arm. So you're trying to get that oppositional rotation that we're coming into here in a little bit. Okay, so the more you push back, the more those shoulders open up, the chest opens up. 4 more times or 2 more each side. Even out. Make sure you're not dumping down. And now as the arms reach forward, lift back up. Your arm that's going down, as if it's pushing into the chair, you hinge back with it. So it's like it's taking you with it and reaching back behind you. Come back forward, squeeze onto that foam roller. The firmer squeeze that you have with it, the more you can reach back, you can open up, and then lift back up. Now check in with those heels, make sure they're still lifted, meaning that there's not as much surface area connected towards the ground here. Okay, so it almost feels like the legs are about to levitate off of the earth. Maybe play with that. Lift the legs, lower back down, reach forward. Reach back, lean back, lift the legs, and then come forward again. So basically what we've done is we've created that tension in the front of the body, protecting the spine and the back of the body, and then holding that space for ourselves to kind of tense up into. Now when I say tense, it's not like a bracing moment like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get punched in the stomach, but more so of a bracing or a tensing up of all of the muscles in the body to get you into that position. Reaching one more time each side, leaning back with it. Oh, shake his rib. Pulling back. Actually, that was my last one. That was my first one. Okay, so just make sure you're even on both sides. Windshield wiper the legs side to side. You can take the foam roller out. if that feels okay in the knee. Otherwise, just do the right leg. And this is where we're going to transition onto the ground. Okay, so make sure as you're coming up, and this might be like a little chance for you to check in like ergonomically how you're moving into one position and the other. So the way that you ideally could get up from a chair, I say could because maybe you have a better method, you've had this leg longer than I've had it, but like ideally coming to rest your hand onto the chair and putting that equal amount of pressure into the right leg, so that what you're doing is lifting up, rolling the hips, and putting that pressure, then shifting all of your weight into the right foot. Basically, the further the left leg is away, the more like you have like a wider base or a wider foundation underneath of you. Okay, not that you're putting any pressure into that left foot, but basically like you could if you needed to, like it's a kickstand basically at this point. So let's review that again. You can sit down, hand down, foot down, pressure into both sides of the body, twist and turn yourself, and then bring that left leg underneath of you. Just try it out. Just try it. Okay. All right, so get yourself into position, get your props into position. We'll need the foam roller, at least one of our yoga blocks again. And we're gonna start down on the mat there on our back. So from there, left leg is long. Maybe give it that little bit of support under your half foam roller or even full foam roller. Let's do that. Awesome. Okay. Here, get in the way. Perfect. All right. So from here, actually, let's place the hands down by the hips and take a big inhale and maybe even just lift the low back off of the mat. Now, as you exhale, pull the belly button down, wrap the ribs and the obliques around the space of the body, and then the pelvic floor lifts up. Pelvic floor, you feel that like blueberry that's at the base of your spine, that opening of your butthole, and you're trying to lift it up inside of you. Inhale, let everything relax. Exhale, blueberry lifts, belly button draws down. That engagement through the core feels like the low back is now getting just a little heavier. It's not because we're pushing into the mat, it's because all of that engagement on the front of the body helps to sink down towards the mat. And just do that breath awareness exercise a couple more times there. Hands can maybe rest or even like feel what's going on the front of the body, or even check in what's going on the back of the body. One more time. Exhale, holding now that flat back onto the ground. Core engaged, pelvic floor lifted, reach the arms up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, hands go down by the hips, head, neck, and shoulders lift up, not because of the neck muscles, but because of that core musculature we just turned on. Lift the arms back up, lower the head back down. So now in that chest lifted position, it's like somebody's got your chest on a string and it's pulling you up and then forward to reach or to look through your legs. Inhale, do that 3 more times, 5 total. Soften the shoulders down away from the ears. Exhale. Now each inhale is a chance for you to soften that tissue, but remember we're not completely disengaging it. 2 more times. On our last chest lift, we're gonna hold up. Think about reaching those fingertips towards the bottom of your mat. 1 more, final time. Exhale. Pelvic floor lift, belly button in, obliques wrap. Whew. Okay, now hold. Try to even like reach the fingertips a little longer. Can you touch your foam roller? Can you reach towards the bottom of your mat? Now as you're looking, make sure your belly button isn't poofing or mounding up towards the ceiling. Lift and lower your right foot off of the ground. Maybe you bring both hands or one hand behind the head for a little bit of support. Just make sure you're not cranking on the neck to get there. If anything, you want your head pushing back into your hands. Try to drive your left foot or your left back of the leg down into the foam roller a little more. Now if it's behind the knee, maybe you need to drive the thigh into the foam roller a little more. So whichever space of the back of the leg that's going to feel comfortable for you to put more downward pressure into that leg. And notice how if you put that downward pressure, it helps to even out or parallel the hips. It helps to imprint the low back. And as that right leg is lifting and lowering, hold it lifted, and now start to twist, oh my goodness, towards the right. Left elbow to right knee. Ooh, that's a strong one. As you're twisting, make sure the hips are not rocking with you. So keep that left hip down into the ground. And you do that by engaging through the left glutes, turning them on, putting that downward pressure into your foam roller. And it's okay that the leg or the foot has maybe lifted off of the mat. That's okay. This lets your body like maybe feel comfortable with trying a straight leg position on the left side. Or maybe it feels comfortable just coming back down to the mat. Just make sure that the glute is turned on. We've got 2 more. You're gonna hold that rotation on this last one. Hold that rotation. Now reach the left arm past the leg, and it's tiny little pulses past it even further. 7, 6, 3 more, last 2, final 1. Bring the hand back behind the head, place the foot down, rest and relax, and windshield wiper that knee side to side. All right, now lengthen that leg out. Hopefully you didn't feel grippy in the front of the hip, but if you did, just take like a full body stretch, arms reaching, and the right toes pointing. Ooh. Okay, and now that foam roller is going to stay where it is, so your left leg is in that slightly bent position, but the right foot and the heel, all of the back of the leg is trying to push down into the mat, so you can feel that engagement and keep the hips square with each other. Arms reach up towards the ceiling. We're going to come 2 times chest lifted position. Just find that core engagement to lift yourself up. It's going to feel different with a long leg position of that right side. If it doesn't feel good for the low back, or you're feeling like you can't connect as firmly into the core, bend the knee back in again. Okay? Now you're holding that chest lifted position, reaching the fingertips long, using the core to lift the left leg off of your foam roller. And even if it's not even like lifting a little bit, that's fine. The intention is there to use the core to lift the leg. Maybe even like bring your hands to your belly and give yourself some pokes a couple times. And that just brings the awareness as well as like a little bit of resistance into that tensile property of the front of the body. What I mean by resistance is like, think about like a natural cup of nut butter and the oil that sits on top, and think about like if you just stick your fork in and try to pull it back out real quick, when you try to pull it back out, it resists against you, okay? So if you're pushing down into that core space or giving it those light little taps, it's not only telling your brain like, oh, okay, this is where we need to control and get engaged from as we lift the leg, but it's also like pushing that resistance back up against you, okay? So that you can feel that stronger connection. Hold that leg, lift it up a little higher if you can. Let me think about this actually. Lower that leg back down. I don't want you to get too grippy in the hip. All right, from there, if it feels okay to hold that leg lifted, then I want you to twist yourself towards the left, just like we did on the right side. If that doesn't feel good and you're feeling grippy, then you leave the leg down. If you have that stool kind of nearby, I don't want you to like get out of the flow of this, but if you have the stool nearby, what you can do is rest your leg on top of it. So you're kind of like mocking up like a makeshift tabletop position. So if you could hold that leg here, then that's great. So anyways, your leg is either lifted or supported, or, you know, if you have, if you're working out in the space that we've been working out, you can even rest the foot onto the wall like so, and twisting yourself off to the left. All right, now hold that twist no matter where you are. Sorry, I've kind of like worked you around your room real quick. Reach the right arm past the left leg and then pulse for 8 times. Reach further. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower back down. Actually, I kind of want to explore this here. Turn yourself to the wall if you haven't already, and bring both feet up the wall. Bring them right next to each other so that knee feels comfortable on the left side and the right side is the same kind of bent position. You're going to take your foam roller, start it at the base of your hips, so right at the front crease of your hips, making sure that spine stays imprinted nice and flat. You're going to start to walk the foam roller up the legs until the arms are straight. So it might be like right at the top of the knees or top of the thighs. Core is turned on, pelvic floor is lifted, taking an inhale to start. And as you exhale, roll the foam roller up, chest lift up, and then roll back down again. Okay, so it's a lower lift, a roll, and a lower of your foam roller. Now, if you do feel anything in the neck, bring one hand behind the head just to give it support. so that you feel like a stronger connection to the core. If anything, remember that the hand behind your head is a chance for your head to push back, to find that back line strength, as well as the front line strength. Final two. Last one, you're gonna hold that chest lifted position. So now definitely bring your right hand behind your head if you're not already there. From here, you're gonna slide the right leg out from underneath of that foam roller. So now it's kind of like a balancing act. With that right leg, place it down onto the ground and open and close that knee out to the side. So you're putting a little bit of downward pressure into that foam roller. If you need to bring it, excuse me, down onto the thigh, do so now, but you're putting that downward pressure just like we were when we were seated. Push down into the foam roller with your hand and almost like pull back into the foam roller with your leg. As that right leg is opening and closing, you're going to feel strong left side oblique connection. So make sure that the hips and the body aren't rocking from side to side. Everything else stays nice and still. Two more. And place the right leg up, lower the head down, switch out the hands. So right hand on top of foam roller on top of right leg. And then your left leg is actually going to stay right here. But you are going to come up into that chest lifted position, connecting deep into the core. Hand comes behind the head, and the knee, if it feels comfortable, opens out and closes back in. Okay? So it's kind of like you just stomped on a bug on that wall there. And as your foot rolls out to the side, you're kind of checking to see if it's dead or not. As that leg rolls out, though, make sure the hips don't roll. If it feels okay, if this does not feel okay for the rolling motion or the opening motion in that hip or that knee, then what I want you to do is slide the leg and pull back center. So it's not going to come off of the wall like I am right here. I just don't have any more wall. But the leg is going to slide off to the side. Keep putting that downward pressure into the foam roller and pull back center. So it feels secure because you're sliding, you're still touching the foot onto that wall base. But as you open and close, that strong right side oblique connection, pelvic floor lifting, is what's going to stay and help to support that spine, to help to move from the powerhouse of the body. For two more. Exhale, close towards center. One more. And close towards center. Now place that foot back down onto the ground, onto the wall. And then the foam roller comes between the legs like so. Ooh, okay. From here, hands down next to the hips. You're not going to be putting a lot of pressure into that left side to begin with, so bring your awareness to your right side. It's going to be kind of like a single leg bridge, depending on how this feels for the body. We're only going to do 5 reps. So as you exhale, majority of your pressure goes into that right foot. So slowly peel the spine up, one bone at a time, and get as far as you can until you start to feel like that left leg is talking to you, like not in a good way though, and then lower back down. So if you're like, oh, that feels like it could start into pain, work your way up to that threshold and then come back down. So that when you come back up into that bridge, maybe you can push a little further past that threshold point. And then lowering back down. So the goal with this bridge, I'm going to show you from the side on the stool, but the goal is to articulate the spine one bone, one piece, one segment at a time. Well, imagine this is my wall here, and I'm pushing down a lot of pressure into my right foot. My tailbone is the first to scoop to around to roll up. Then my hips, low back, middle back, and if you can, maybe the upper back. Coming up into that bridge, and then lowering back down. Now that was just for show, to show you from the side like how slow, intentional, and like meaningful that movement is. But I want you to stay on the wall so that your foot is flat, not like driving down or getting like a weird position on that stool or chair. Should be on your last one at this point. So lifting up as high as you can, putting most of that pressure into the right foot. Then holding that bridge at the top, if that feels good, or as high as you can, squeeze the legs together into your foam roller. 5 more times into the foam roller. 4, 3, if that left leg needs to lengthen out a little further, walk it up the wall. 2. And now hold that squeeze, slowly lower down. 1 bone, 1 piece, 1 segment at a time. All right, take that foam roller out, away, off to the side, both legs up onto the ceiling, and maybe try to like soften the left knee down, not to like lock out the legs, but just to feel like the body is getting a little bit more comfortable with that straight leg position rather than protecting it and keeping it in that bent knee position. Hands down by the hips, out to the side at about a 45-degree angle. Lift the right leg off of the wall. Exhale, lift the left leg off of the wall. Now, as you're lifting, again, using that core strength to pull that leg over the hip, over the head, and back down again, just resting it softly onto the wall. Keep doing that 3 more times each side. Maybe feeling a nice little length in the back of the hamstring as that leg pulls toward you. And if you do and you want more, pull the toes down towards the nose. Kick and lift up through the heel. 2 more each side. Heel is trying to push up, so light up through the back of the muscle on that left leg as the toes pull down. Lower, slow, and controlled. 1 more each side. Good, now bend that right knee in towards the chest. Give it a big hug in, open out towards the side. Try to pull that knee up in towards the armpit. Just stretching out through that back of the leg. Lengthen it back up. Now the left knee isn't going to bend, but you are going to pull it towards you. So try to find like a hamstring stretch. Maybe the leg goes out to the side. A little bit of an inner thigh stretch. You can even have your hand or your arm off to the side as a kickstand and let the leg rest off. Make sure the hips don't roll with you here. Pull that leg back, rest it back down. Awesome. And then bring yourself, you're going to roll off to your right side. And when you get onto your right side, oh, wait, that did not work well for me. Rolling onto your right side, staying onto your right side, you're going to take your foam roller underneath of your left hand, and your right hand comes under your head here. Okay, so the knees are as bent as you can get them, and then from there, line up the heels, the hips, the heart, the head. With that left hand on the foam roller, what you're gonna do is start to like saw your body back and forth. So as it rolls away from you, feel the thoracic spine, the upper part of your spine, twisting out like you're wringing out a wet towel. Now again, pay attention to your hips here. Make sure they're not rocking back and forth with you. You wanna keep them stacked on top. So this might actually be like a good chance for you to slide your hips up against a wall and to see if you're coming away from that wall or pushing a little bit more pressure into that wall. Okay, now place your right hand, if you have a pillow or maybe your yoga block, you can place it under your head like a pillow, just to bring that head up into that resting position. And your right hand comes underneath of that foam roller, left hand on top. Now, as you're pulling it back on the arm, think of yourself as like an archer. So you've got a bow and you're pulling back your bow, you're rotating around and trying to twist that elbow back behind you to reach it back behind you. Then reach or roll that foam roller back again. So let's start with it on your elbows so that you can slide it a little further now. So if it starts on the elbows, now you slide it up the right arm, roll and look up towards the ceiling. Keep sliding it across the chest and maybe holding it into that armpit space as the elbow reaches out to the side. Then rotating forward, bringing that foam roller back to the opposite armpit, sliding it back down. Yeah, one more time. Pulling in, pulling that bow back, reaching and rotating back behind you. Leave the foam roller back behind you here. Rotate forward. And now from here, heels stay connected. If this feels good, lift the left leg up, off, away from your bottom leg. So now while that leg is lifting though, place your top hand into the ground and put a little bit more downward pressure into the ground. Each time that leg lifts, more downward pressure. Leg lift, downward pressure. And bring your awareness now to the bottom of your body, the one that is touching the mat. And each time you put that downward pressure into the mat, does it feel like it's kind of lifting up away? Glute and oblique connection here for 3 more. Last 2. And final 1. Hold that leg lift, that downward pressure, and then start to lift and lower your top leg up, holding that angle of the knee, holding that pressure of the hand. 4 more times. Make sure as the leg lifts, the lower body, the right side body does not lower down into the mat. 2 more. And 1 more. Whew. Okay. Strengthening up those hips on that side there. Give yourself a round of applause. And then finding your way off to the other side. We're going to swing our legs, or we're going to sit yourself up, swing your legs around, bring the yoga block with you and the foam roller with you, or you can simply turn yourself onto the other side. I just want to make sure, facing towards you, you can see everything that's happening. All right, yoga block as your pillow, foam roller as your roller. Okay. So now from here, starting on the fingertips, you're sawing past the foam roller, sawing, pulling the foam roller back, and trying to pull it so far back to where you can like feel that opening of the front of the body, and then reaching and rolling back forward again. Pull back. And the foam roller is just kind of like a guiding tool. You don't have to hold on to it the entire time. Sorry, I should have said that at the beginning. But just let it be like a chance for you to put that downward pressure in under your hand, so you feel that you can stretch open a little more as you roll back behind you. Now you can choose to come with that other arm under the foam roller, rolling it along the arm there, maybe leaving it be and reaching the other arm out behind you. Just make sure that the hips stay stacked, the knees stay stacked, the feet stay stacked. 2 more times, rolling, taking that foam roller with you, opening and trying to reach from elbow tip to fingertip, and then roll it back forward 1 more time. This rolling didn't work out as well as I wanted it to. 1 more final time, reach elbow tip to fingertip, place that foam roller down, and then roll it back forward. From there, downward pressure is being put into your top hand. Make sure shoulders are stacked. It feels comfortable enough for you. Downward pressure into the top hand as you lift that top knee up and away. And if you feel like, oh, how am I going to remember all of these different cues or components? Like, let it be a rep that you can like relax into on your inhale, and then exhale, put all of your weight, all of your pressure into it. Final 2. Hold leg lifted, final 1. Hold that downward pressure. Then lift and lower the leg down and up like you're a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. Bring your awareness to the left side of the body, the one that's on the mat, and try to lift the soft tissue away from the mat, meaning the space between ribs and hips, maybe even the ribs off of the mat here for 2 more, and 1 more. Then place that leg down, give yourself a round of applause. All right, and last little bit here to finish up class is our extension work. So you're gonna bring the foam roller to the top of your mat. Legs are going to lengthen up behind you. Now, if this doesn't feel good, I want you to come back up to the chair. I'll show you what that looks like here in a little bit. Otherwise, if you're down onto the mat, toes are pointed, tops of the feet pushing and trying to lift the kneecaps off of the mat. Arms are long, wrists or forearms are down onto your foam roller, and lifting the belly button off of the mat too. So trying to like Superman yourself from one edge of the room to the other. Now, as you inhale, it is an inhale, push down into your foam roller, lift your body up into your swan dive. And then as you exhale, lower back down. It's like your body doesn't want to touch the ground now. So as you're lowering down, your body's like, no, 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 don't want to touch, don't want to touch. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep reaching, keep reaching, keep reaching. And then when the nose touches down, then the rest of the body can soften down. Okay, let this be like a kind of moment here to rest and relax and feel the heaviness in the body. Exhale, put that downward pressure down through the tops of the feet. Lift the kneecaps, lift the belly button. Put that downward pressure in through the foam roller, and then as you inhale, lift the body up, pull the shoulders down, open up through front and back body simultaneously. Exhale, reach, fingertips away. When the nose gets close enough to touch, then the rest of the body can sink down. 1 more final swan dive, kind of feel that heaviness. That did not feel okay on the shoulders. Here's your modification. Hands come under the shoulders. Peel the elbows back towards you. And with the toes pressing down, knees lifting up, core lifting up, you inhale to lift and press yourself up. It's almost like cobra in yoga. exhale, lower back down. Okay, so if that didn't feel good, maybe play with the different angles of the hands or the forearms so you can lift yourself up into that cobra. Just make sure that you're trying to lengthen the spine as you're lifting, okay? So as promised, if that felt good, like you're done with class, good job. But as promised, your option or your modification for that extension is to come up into a seated position, back onto your chair, back with your foam roller, and the legs out in front of you. So it's kind of like we were on the wall there, and now you're gonna pull the foam roller towards you, and the shoulders down away from the ears, open up through the chest. And then exhale, tuck the chin in. It's like you're laying back down onto the mat. Inhale to lift into your extension, pull the shoulders back, lengthen the spine up. And then exhale, and then do that one more time. Pull back, push down, lift up. All of those sound like oxymorons, but if you're moving, if you're feeling it, it makes sense. You're pulling back, you're pushing down, you're lifting up. Alrighty, that is class for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you have my number, just text me, let me know. If this was like the right kind of class for you, if it was challenging enough, or if you want something a little bit more different. That's the beauty of movement of Pilates, is that we can have options. We can make our variations, we can make our modifications as we go. All right, Happy New Year, Carrie. I'll see you next time when I see you. I think it's Saturday.